Hello, alchemists, and welcome. What is your sadness trying to tell you right now? If you've already chosen your doorway, check the timestamps below. If not, we're going to take a closer look. Doorway number 1. Doorway number 2. And doorway number 3. Let's begin the great work. Hello, alchemists, and welcome to your initiation through doorway number 1. You chose tending the future. So, what is your sadness trying to tell you right now? Well, with tending the future, it sounds like you may be having some worries about the future. You might be worried that you aren't preparing yourself for the future that you want. Or maybe you feel like that you don't even have the resources or the ability. And that makes you feel really sad. I feel like you could feel even a little hopeless about what your possibilities are, about what could be coming for your future. Maybe you have certain big dreams or hopes and they seem really far out of reach. And so let's dig in a little more and see what your sadness is trying to tell you. Let's look at your shadow card. This has been coming up in the collective so much. I swear I've pulled this card in the last month. I've probably pulled it like 5 times. It's a table of sheep and wolves, but the wolves are in sheep masks. So I think you feel really sad that, the world feels so predatory. It feels like the predatory nature of the world is, you might even feel like it's like stealing your dreams or stealing your future. And you're trying so hard to see things in the most positive light possible. But, what you're feeling and what you're seeing is not a lie at all. You're not weak for feeling that way. There's a lot of exploitive things going on in the world right now. And it can be very hard to have hope in the future when this kind of exploitation is happening. When you are, one individual person, but surrounded by wolves trying to act like, basically gaslight you into thinking that their way is the only way or the best way, when really it's hurting so many people. This feels like you're feeling something that a lot of people are feeling right now. Let's see. Fertility. Now, obviously, if it resonates with you, this could be kind of a literal thing. Like maybe you want to start a family, but with all this, unsurety about the future, the idea of starting a family, which might be one of your dreams, is something that just doesn't feel like something that might be possible. But also from the ideas of like, maybe you're constantly being drained by a system that's not letting you get ahead. And so there is no fertile ground for your creativity. There is no fertile ground for your healing. Not because you're not strong. You are so strong. But because you're so tired and worn down. And you're told over and over again that your sadness is your fault. Well, you know what? Krishnamurti says, it is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. So if you're resonating with this, it might be that, you can see clearly how life should be, and you're not caught in the illusions that so many other people are caught in. And that actually can bring such levels of sadness because you're not ignorant. Ignorance is bliss, but seeing what's going on and knowing it might affect your dreams and your future, that is a lot of heaviness to bear. And I just want to say I have so much compassion for you. Obviously, I feel like all of us can relate to this doorway in one way or another. But we're going to get some advice here, because even though this card in this context is like, oh, worrying about the future, what the future is, if your dreams are going to be able to get anywhere near where you wish them to be. There is such a serenity and peace to this card, tending the future, right? Let's take a look. We have the Devil. Yeah, feeling like you're in the clutches. It gives so much anxiety, right? You're in the clutches of a system that you have no control over. In a lot of decks, the Devil card is about like being chained up with chains that the people could just break if they wanted to, because so it's more about like, it can be a lot of times about being trapped in a system, but mentally trapped that you could just walk away from if you wanted to, but not this. She's passed out. 9 of Cups. All right. So now we're kind of getting into the energy of tending the future. And for me, I would say start with small indulgences. Now remember, society will teach us that indulgences, like, oh my gosh, you ate avocado toast, you're so wasteful, while they have like a yacht or something. But for me, so like one thing that I do every morning is I wake up and I listen to really empowering, cheery music to kind of set my day right. But some days, like this morning, I woke up and I was like, if I turn that music on, I am going to scream, because I just was not feeling it, and that's okay. So that's why when it comes down to it, when you are in a state of sadness, like where sadness is, really dominating part of your life, it can be really hard to do these things. And so this is calling for you to try to do little micro tasks. Like she's just taking a bubble bath. Well, it's sort of like a gingerbread tea bath. I don't know. But anyway, something little bitty, teeny tiny that won't overwhelm you or make you feel like you're faking trying to feel better. And through those teeny tiny actions, that's how you can start tending to the vision of the future that you have. We're taught that it needs to be one giant explosive step at a time, but really Kaizen, which is doing one small thing a day. Just try to do 1 minute a day of something that makes you feel a little better. And if you can't do 1 minute, do 10 seconds. And then slowly increase if and when you can. But if you can't, guess what? If you do 1 minute a day, then at the end of the year, you've done 365 minutes. 5 of Swords. Now, this is different than a lot of 5 of Swords, because she's the one with the power here, right? I don't know what she's about to do to that radish or whatever, but I think the idea is that you're finally figuring out that being upset or sad about the situation you find yourself in, you finally understand that you were never the unreasonable one in this, that other people were, society at large has been gaslighting you and trying to tell you that you're asking too much, or that you're too demanding, or that you're not owed anything. You're owed basic human decency and respect. Four of Swords. You're really tired. And even though this is a mind/swords card, there's a lot of water energy in it with these fish, and her kind of being in a fish tank. Right next to the 5 of Swords as well. So you probably oscillate between tired and maybe even surges of anger within, but it all comes back down to a level of sadness that you may feel over a future you might even feel like was robbed from you. Alrighty. When I see this card, I get the feeling of like Trojan horse energy. So I think that society doesn't really understand how many people who look overly tired and exhausted are really, honestly, they're there's still such strong people inside, and you're not just going to take it forever. You're going to figure out, despite all this, how to make your future beautiful, how to make your future wonderful. You're not going to take this crap anymore. You're not just going to fall over and let these people or the situation defeat you. But you're going to do it with compassion, love, and understanding for yourself and for those who need it. And the reason I see this is because even though you have these feelings like that, you have such a tender heart underneath. Yeah. You're ready for balance. You're ready to honor your sadness. Honor that your sadness brings different aspects of exhaustion, aspects of anger sometimes. And that does not stop you from building the future you want in slow, tiny steps. And the issue is that you might not be able to build it the way that you deserve because of the way society is, but you are resilient and strong and smart, and you're going to find a way to work within the framework or even break the framework, right? Being kind and compassionate every day and telling people, helping people see reality, sharing your experiences, whether they're positive or negative, with other people in a compassionate, kind way changes the world. And here's what it comes down to. You've got to love and respect yourself enough to go easy on yourself, give yourself grace. Don't internalize the messages that you get externally that tell you you're not good enough or that something's wrong with you for being sad. Remember, emotions are never wrong. They're just signs pointing to something. So if you're feeling a lot of sadness, it's because something is off balance, and that something might not be you. It might be your natural reaction to a ridiculously bad situation. So as always, I encourage you to go get any help that you need. Sadness isn't something you have to bear alone. Go out and get a therapist or talk to your friends, spend more time with people who nourish you and make you feel better. And work on your Kaizen a little bit, just a little bit every day. I am sending all my love towards you, Alchemist, and you're not alone. You are vibrant, and you're vibrant even on the days where you feel like you're a mess, and that's okay. Keep up with the great work, and I will see you next time. Hello, Alchemists, and welcome to your initiation through doorway number 2. What is your sadness trying to tell you right now? You chose the grace card. I'm getting a feeling that you're not giving yourself enough grace. Are you being very hard on yourself? Are you feeling like you're kind of flailing? Which one? I think it's both. That's pretty rare. Do you feel like you're kind of flailing through life gracelessly? No, Alchemist. We'll see. We'll see what's going on in your shadow. But I can guarantee you that you need to give yourself more grace, and that you're actually handling things way more stably and gracefully than you believe. So let's check this out. 2 shadow cards. Got a lot going on here. Okay, yeah. All right. So with these 2 shadow cards and with Grace in that position, you feel like that you work very hard, but that the seeds that you're planting are, instead of nourishing you, maybe eating you alive. These are carnivorous plants. But what you don't see is that you actually have been slowly but surely planting over a long period of time a beautiful galactic garden in your soul. And I know that sounds weird, but like cosmic. So like, for example, if you were to look back at where you were emotionally 6 months ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, then you can stop and see the changes. If you looked at the way that you have lived your life, but pretended it was somebody else that you know, you would give them a lot more grace and respect than you're giving yourself, right? Look at that friendship. Treat yourself like you would treat a friend. In fact, you should be your best friend. You know why? Because you are the person who's there from the day that you're born until the day that you transition. Other people might be there for a long time or a short time or come and go. Even the longest friendships aren't usually from the day you're born until the day you transition. But there's one person who's there the entire time, and it is good for you to build a relationship of kindness and compassion with that person. And of course, I mean you. And think of these seeds that you planted that you feel like maybe are the seeds of your self-destruction or something. I don't know how you're viewing it, but think of it more like seeds of necessary self-protection, not in a unhealthy way, but in a way where these will protect you, your seeds that might seem like bitterness or pushing people away. Sometimes those are just filters to keep the wrong people out of your friendship zone. And you're going to just find, you're going to have no problem at all letting the right people in. But you know what? There's a lot of people with energy that's not going to match yours. It's not wrong to say, you know what? Our energy is not really matching. We aren't on the same frequency. Your frequency is not necessarily bad. Mine's not better or anything, but we're on different frequencies. And sometimes we get so lonely with our wounds and stuff and so sad that we're like, I'll just take literally whatever I can get friendship wise. But focus on becoming friends with yourself and giving yourself such grace that you're vibrating at the level of the kinds of friendships you want. And then you'll just attract those kinds of friendships, right? Yeah, with the tower, I feel like there's a lot of sadness around relationships in this. And maybe you even isolate or close off from friendships because you feel like, you know, because you don't give yourself the grace you deserve. So you don't feel like maybe you'd even deserve it. And so many of us are given childhood wounds about you have to earn everything. I mean, literally little kids being like, the world's not going to give you anything for free. People telling that to little kids and stuff. It's like, what are you talking about? You know, the world is built on false scarcity. The world is abundant. You know, the only thing that's not abundant is time. And they have us waste so much of our time being so freaked out. And just remember, when you're giving yourself grace, that means on days you're sad and you feel like you're a hot mess, you give yourself extra love and grace that day. Don't be like, I shouldn't be doing this. You are allowed to have the full gamut of emotions. And remember, being sad or any other emotion is natural. And it's a signpost. It's information. Four of Wands. Look at that. Yeah. You're headed towards some really strong friendships after this tower. A really stable home. And when I say a really stable home, probably in the real world, but especially your inner world. Because if you can create stability and the feeling of home in your heart, then external circumstances will stop being able to twist your subconscious. It'll stop being able to influence you in a way where you aren't seeing yourself as the beautiful, vibrant, wonderful person you are. Three of Wands. I feel like you are ready to move past this. You're tired of it. And like I always say when we're talking about these deep emotional, spiritual things, please seek out the professional help you need when needed. Seek out friends, trusted people, you know, change your situation in whatever way you can. That, I mean, you know best for yourself, but reach out for help when you need it. You're not alone. But you feel sometimes the weight, such a heavy weight, like no one's going to understand. Or maybe in the past you have expressed how you felt to people who you thought were your friends, or people who you thought, maybe family members who you thought would understand you. And then you were treated like, oh, your pain was minimized. And when that happens, it teaches you that it's not safe to share your emotions. But you've got this weight on you. You're ready to move forward. You want to move into this home in your heart energy after this Tower. 8 of Pentacles. You're ready to create safety in yourself so that when you're reaching more out into the community to meet other people, you don't have to feel so guarded, because you will have trust in yourself enough that you will filter out the kind of people naturally who would demean you or minimize your experience. And it comes back to this grace over and over again. You've got to love yourself and give yourself grace. 2 of Cups. Look at that. I love this for you. This is 2 of Cups. Usually in most tarot decks, it's the falling in love relationship card. But look, fall in love with yourself. What a perfect piece of advice for this doorway, Alchemist. You deserve to love yourself. You are so amazing. Look what was on the top. This was the affirmation card for the last doorway. I love and respect myself deeply. Well, that's what you're working on, right? Your sadness is saying, I need love so much. And you might think, oh, that means I need love externally. But you know what it means? It means you need to, your sadness is crying out for you to love yourself. Let's see what your affirmation. I like to work hard. I get this feeling from that it's saying, like, sometimes you feel like, actually, it has a few different implications. One could be that you hide yourself in your work so that you don't have to deal with all this. And another one is that sometimes when we're really sad, we go out and we do the work and we go to therapy. And if we need to, whatever we need to do, we go out and do it. And so you're working so hard. And then you feel like, maybe I only took one teeny tiny little step, one teeny tiny little step. And so you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm putting in all this effort and this work, and I don't feel like I'm really getting, the amount of benefit versus the amount of work I'm putting in. Well, it is making a difference. And a lot of times with these things, it'll be a lot of work, and then a click, and a lot of things will fall into place at once. But I feel like your advice is, what your sadness is trying to tell you is, love yourself. You don't necessarily have to work harder. You just need to have focus on loving yourself and getting any help that you need. Well, Alchemist, I'm sending you love and blessings. You're doing such a beautiful job and amazing work. So please continue the great work, and I will see you next time. Hello, Alchemists, and welcome to your initiation through doorway number 3. What is your sadness trying to tell you right now? You chose coming of age. Got the kitsune, the 9-tailed fox here. Coming of age makes me think a little bit about how, like, when you're young, you're given this idea of what your life is going to look like and what resources you're going to have, things like that, or how things are going to be. And with coming of age, I feel like there's almost like a disillusionment that caused a lot of sadness in you. And if you resonated with doorway number 1, I would recommend you check that one out too, because I think these are going to overlap. But basically, that disillusionment can take the dreams that you've had in your life, and it almost feels like they're getting mocked. They're getting thrown in your face over and over again. And the idea that with the coming of age card, is that you come of age, like obviously in your adolescence, but you're also coming of age over and over again as you discover new things. Whoa, oh my goodness. That was like a really loud bang close by. I'm sorry about that. Sorry about that. There's like this huge explosion sound outside. I don't know what has been with my readings the last 2 weeks with interruptions, but when you hear a sound like that, you just have to think, hey, pay extra close attention. And, maybe it feels like an explosive energy in your life. And what I was saying is that, coming of age is something that happens over and over again as you learn more, as you grow more, as you make more discoveries about the world and the way it works. All right. I feel like this card came up in my last set of readings, my last video about karmic patterns. So with coming of age and this having to do with the karmic patterns last week, I feel like a lot of your sadness has to do with generational issues, potentially generational trauma or family issues, and with the coming of age. That means when you were coming of age, maybe you always felt you were just barely getting by, or you were, in danger, not necessarily physically, but, so much emotional damage is done to people throughout their lives for things that other people would be like, oh, that's no big deal. Oh, you're making a big deal out of it. Like maybe your parents were too busy to spend time with you. It doesn't always have to be, huge and dramatic. It can be, silence is one of the biggest things that causes long-term problems and emotional pain and deep abandonment wounds, or the ability not to share yourself, or that when you're seen, you're diminished. Commitment. Yeah. It was probably really hard. Oh my goodness. Bang, bang, bang. You must have a very strong, I would say you're one of those, a highly sensitive person. So every one of these felt like a life-changing boom in your emotions. And with that, the commitment card coming out. You might struggle with commitment because of this wound and this fear, the way that you were treated as your mind was developing. Or it might be that other people have betrayed you in their commitment, in the sense of like maybe when you were a kid, an adult is supposed to be committed to caring for their child, or maybe you're in a relationship and the person made promises that they did not keep. And when that happens, that can cause such a deep wound of betrayal. And this card to me is also a card of survival mode. And when people aren't loved and cherished and taught their inherent worth as children, then they come of age with the psychological pattern embedded in them of survival mode. And so then you have to work hard and be committed to yourself so that you can break that pattern and get into, just living mode, into maintenance mode, instead of being in survival mode that you don't even know you're in. Oh my goodness. I don't even know. Like, I don't want to cancel the reading, but I don't know why there's so many, like, that sound that keeps happening. And right when I pulled this specific version of the Wheel of Fortune, where looks like she's getting shot with arrows, she's on a target. Yeah, I'm not going to start this reading over because that's just too significant. So, you might have felt like a target. The Wheel of Fortune in most decks, you're like, oh, the wheel's turning in your favor. Yeah, it could be. But, it's night here. I have no idea why that would even be happening. All right, where were we? Yeah, I'm getting the sense here of in your childhood, you had to show two different faces. There was the you that you felt like was the real you, your true identity, your core. And then there was this is the Hanged Man, but you had to show a different face because you felt like a target. Oh, I'm feeling so much love and compassion for you right now. This is such a horrible thing that happens to so many children growing up, and it causes so many adults to be out there who are filled with such sadness. It could have been prevented with just some friendship, with just some love, with just some affection. Here we have the Three of Cups, the friendship card. So, I feel like your advice is to give yourself grace and to remember to reach out to friends who are trusted or get the help you need when you need it, and remember that sadness is not a punishment. Sadness doesn't mean you did anything wrong. Even if someone told you, or maybe your sadness was targeted as irrational, or like I said, minimized when you were young, you have a right to reach out to friends. You have a right to develop joy and be seen and loved for exactly who you are. There are 8 billion people on this planet. Your people are out there, right? Two of Wands. If this is resonating with you, definitely check out doorway number 2, because a lot of the same themes are coming up, especially this one, which is basically you need to fall in love with yourself. You need to counteract any of those negative words that were thrust upon you at any point in your life and develop a deep and passionate relationship for yourself, because you're the person who's going to be there when you're born. You're the person who's going to be there on the last day. You owe it to yourself to be your own best friend. 9 of Pentacles. Yeah, look at that. The Independence card. Being strong and independent. And if you desire commitment or love, this is actually the fastest, greatest path to it. And it has the greatest advantage, because not only do you fall in love with yourself, and so you're happier day to day, and you become strong and independent and not clinging for attachment because of wounds. But if you get into a relationship with another person, it comes from a place of healthy detachment, which means you're not attached to the outcome. So therefore you don't project certain things on people and then be sad and disappointed if it doesn't work out the way that you hoped, right? But so the advantage is, of course, that when you get to this point, you won't even care anymore about all these other things, because you'll be so empowered and so self-adoring and self-loving. But the second advantage is then at this point in your authentic state, that it's not grasping or trying really hard to get a certain thing. You attract the exact thing that you want, that you've always wanted. You aren't taking some other person and kind of, I guess they'll just be good enough because I just don't want to be alone because I'm sad and I have this wound. You will wait around for the right person, and your energy will cause that right person to come up faster if that's what you want. But even more importantly, at this point, you'll only want it if you want it. You may not even want it. I've met so many people, I have so many friends who get to this space and they're like, I'm good. They might have been really wanting love for years and years and years, but when they fell in love with themselves, they weren't worried about it. And then, of course, some of them ended up with the exact right person right after this. And the Lovers. That just reinforces exactly everything I just said. Love yourself, especially this Lovers card. There's no second person. It's just her. And she's got the snake, right? And for me, with that, it's saying you have to love your whole self. Even your shadow parts, the parts that maybe society doesn't want to accept or that you have been taught not to accept. And it doesn't mean act on bad, negative things that hurt you or other people. It means accept yourself wholly and, trust yourself. You are doing the best you can. Your affirmation: I release all negative thoughts of the past and all worries about the future. Look at that. Don't be hard on yourself if this takes time. This also came up either in this reading or last video. I just feel like the collective consciousness is going through. I've been having so many repeating cards in these piles that have like, 100 cards in them or whatever, 120 cards. Been getting the same cards over and over again. Yeah, the collective consciousness is really going through a coming of age. And I guess maybe that has to do with like our switch into the age of Aquarius and just, everything's changing so fast. So give yourself grace through this. Don't be hard on yourself if you can't release all your negative thoughts of the past and all worries about the future. It's a process. Be gentle with yourself. And if you start practicing it a little bit at a time, then you'll just wake up one day and realize, oh, I've come 5 miles, one little step at a time. Give yourself grace. Take the help that you need. Get the help that you need. And remember, this is where you're headed. Self-love. These wounds and injuries from the past are not who you are. They were your superpower. They were the way your nervous system survived difficult situations. And now you just have to teach your nervous system that you're not dealing with that anymore, that you're an adult, that you have the strength and resilience to protect yourself. And so when you can do that and love yourself and become your own mentor, your own hero, then a lot of that will start releasing. Alchemists, you're doing an amazing job. Please, please be gentle with yourself. And thank you so much for spending this time here. I will see you next time, and please continue the great work.